So that brings me to the last thing I wanted to say. Next Tuesday, on the Rosa Parks Ecliptic, I am doing an ArtPrize experiment, and I call it an experiment because it truly is that, a calculated risk. I'm going to attempt to make the world's largest piece of felt with the help of the community. So felt making is a community-based activity because you cannot possibly lift the rolls of wool when they're this large by yourself. It's not a thing you can have an ego about. So I decided that using local wool, that I would lay out a giant lattice on the Rosa Parks circle, and a lattice being fabric similar to the roof fabric in the Chroma Passage. And lay raw fiber out so everyone can see and be a part of the process which hasn't changed in 9,000 years. So we will wet the fiber down once it is in place, and we will put a net on top of it, and everybody will start walking on it, because walking is one of the ways that we compact the fiber. And then in the evening, the Grand Rapids Swing Society is going to dance on it. And hopefully, at the end of the night, it will be strong enough for us to roll up, and then I'll bring back to the museum grounds and we'll try to shrink it. And again, I say we, because I don't know exactly how I'm going to accomplish this yet, but I'm a sort of risk taker, and decided I'd give it a shot. Plus, the worst case scenario is we'll cut it up and pass out fiber to everybody in the Grand Rapids. And if it works and we actually can make this giant piece of felt, we will wrap one of the columns outside the museum so it can hang, and you can all take pride in your stomping efforts. Tuesday here at the Rosa Parks Ecliptic.
What time will that start?
Well, I'll be here early. I'll be starting to lay fibers up around 10, and then the Swing Society comes at 5 or 6, and then they dance until 10. Yeah.
Long day for it.
It's typical.
Where are you from?
I'm from Olympia, Washington.
I have a question. Did you start your career in fibers, or did you switch to fibers?
Answer that. So the question is, did I start my career in fibers, or did I switch to fibers? It's a good question. I've always had a very strong affinity for textiles. I don't know where it came from, because I'm the youngest of 4. My parents, by the time I was born, I only had hand-me-downs. It was a very modest family. My dad worked in the daytime as an engineer, and at night he was a cartographer. And so I didn't have toys. I made all my toys, but I loved fabric, and I was always making things. So luckily I had an amazing mom as well who would help me make these bizarre ideas that I had for costumes and such. When I got to college, I took it upon myself to not take art courses, but to take more cultural courses and do studies about traditional textiles, because I was fascinated by the quality of traditional textiles and how different they are from textiles, that we generally get in our clothing. So I made batik for a while. I took cotton and used the traditional jaunting and dyed my own fabric, and had sort of a crazy business of making display props, because I had this way of putting myself into some display for the Nordstrom stores, and they would come to me to make these crazy props and things, of which Amanda is here. She helped me from the late 90s. The first time I made a piece of felt was 1999, and it was like the minute that in my costumes, I always insisted that I use only the finest fabrics. So unless the customer would let me use high quality materials, it wouldn't do something. But when I learned how to make felt, it was just like no stopping. I didn't want to do anything else at that point. And to some degree, the training that I had in those other traditional formats really did inform my willingness to go to Mongolia, go to Kyrgyzstan, and work with nomadic people and see the appreciation of textiles on that sort of very primal level. And did that answer your question?